weren't here
No,
for this?
no, I wasn't here.
I know you were here, Jackson.
Yeah, I wasn't here either.
Okay.
Jackson still hasn't even used his homework
Where's the
pass.
red Kit Kat?
Yeah.
Can't believe he didn't use it all
I
year.
didn't get any candy either.
You really saved it that long? That's impressive.
Lost it. Then you traded me a white Kit Kat.
She
We
actually
have it,
Alex.
Okay, we're gonna take notes on just 2 slides,
Yeah.
and then that'll be it for today. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I handed back like all the papers that I have from you. If you look on Skyward, if there's anything that's missing that you wanna hand in to me, I'm here till Friday. So that's when you have your time frame to get it to me. If not, you'll just get a 0 for it, okay? But we're gonna just go ahead and talk about the paper that you were supposed to write on Friday, the little essay you're supposed to write, and if you're not here, basically the essay is 3 paragraphs saying you think Jimmy Carter is a good president or not, okay? Use actual facts, make sure, for the people who are absent, make sure you say, yes, he was a good president, no, he wasn't a good president, don't tell me, I don't know. Or, yeah, maybe he was a good and bad president, tell me yes or no. Sound good? Okay, for the people who did write their essay, and I did grade some of them and I put them in Skyward already, so who thought he was a good president and why? Raise your hand if you thought he was a good president, and then tell me why. Yeah, Riley?
Okay, so I thought he was a good president because, like, he tried his best to fix all the issues that the U.S. had, but
Good.
it's just, like, he just didn't have enough time or, like, enough resources to do it.
Good. Do you think it's really difficult to fix something in a short amount of time? It is, right? He inherited a lot of problems, right? He inherited a lot of problems from a lot of different administrations, but he tried his best at different things. Did anybody say he was a bad president? Or maybe you want to play devil's advocate and to say he was a bad president? Why would be some other reason he'd be a bad president? Even if he wrote if he was a good president, somebody tell me why they think maybe he wasn't a good president. Just randomly. Hi, Sarah. Hey. Anybody have any ideas? Yeah?
That one speech that he gave.
Oh, crisis of confidence?
Yeah.
You think maybe that made him a bad president? Kinda, he said a lot of good things in that speech. He was really good at talking. He was a really good speaker. We talked about last hour, basically what makes a good leader, right? What are some of the qualities that make a good leader in general? Shoot out to me. What are some qualities of a good leader? Confidence. Honest.
Confident.
Gets the job done. Responsible.
What?
Different things like this, right?
What's
Puts it
that?
all together. Could it be that he gave a really, really great speech, was really good at speaking, or maybe didn't appeal to everybody that he wanted to appeal to, or maybe the situation he was in was a little bit difficult. Maybe that's something that goes on. But other, fair and fair, a lot of first hour also said that he was a decent president, right? And we also talked about Donald Trump and different things in first hour and about could he possibly be a good leader in general. And that's what you gotta think about. You get the chance to vote. You guys are all getting 18, right? You're gonna be 18 pretty soon. You're gonna have the opportunity to vote. You need to think about what actually makes a good leader. That's kind of why I had you write this paper. Because I know that Carter already did some things. He already had his administration. He already put in all his policies, tried really his best in different situations. But what you guys need to look at for the next presidential election or whatever election you get to vote in, you gotta look to see what are the actual policies. How are they actually going to help us if they're going to help us? That's what you gotta look at. You can't just look at like, oh, well, maybe he'll do certain things and sometimes he won't, or maybe his policies aren't as great. You just really need to look at those different aspects, right? So that's something you need to think about when you go into the future, okay? When you learn about different presidents and when you learn about candidates and how they're gonna appeal to the American public. That's what you really need to find out, okay? All right? Awesome. We're gonna move on and I'll just introduce some of the stuff that's going to be happening as we go on. Mr. Linder will take on Ronald Reagan for you, but I'm just gonna introduce some concepts in general, okay, that we can really talk about to let you know what's going on in the rest of society. Okay, so we're gonna hit a transition period, okay? 1960s, 68 into 70s. What kind of social things are going on during that time period?
Thank you.
What are some of the social things happening in the economy? 60s and the 70s, guys. What is happening?
Counterculture.
Counterculture, different things like that, right? Protests, riots, that stuff. It's really gonna start bubbling up. Well, now people are gonna realize that maybe the government shouldn't have that much power. Maybe it should be more power for the states. Okay, so you're gonna start getting this new wave, right? Different values are gonna come out. One of the big huge things that are gonna come out from here is basically new conservatives, or new conservatism, okay? So that's kind of something that's going to be happening, okay? New conservatives is gonna be a movement and basically a group of people who are really gonna think a little bit different than everyone else, okay? Philosophy between the 70s and the 80s, basically pursuit of conservative domestic and foreign policies, things that they're gonna really try to pursue. Some of the goals that are gonna be associated with this: more states power, okay? Having the states maybe determine a little bit more for themselves, not so much federal. Urban areas were filled with crime before this time. When Carter was president, crime was on the rise, inflation was on the rise. They needed some way to stop this crime, okay? Also, they wanted to cut inflation. It was huge at this point. They wanted to decrease that. Those are some of the goals of the new conservatives. Okay, so as you get that, as you think about how Reagan is going to be elected, the people that are gonna actually vote for Reagan, the ideas that they're gonna believe in, that's something you need to think about, okay? Especially when we get into Reagan. You really gotta think about that, and that's how it's gonna play on, and that's how the debates are gonna go when there's a presidential election between Carter and Reagan. Reagan was the answer to this, obviously. He was a figure between assurance and stability, okay? He was a little bit of both. A lot of people thought he was the knight in shining armor that could help them out a lot, especially economically, socially, a lot of political issues. They thought that Reagan would be the answer to this. They had Carter, he went through some hard times, they thought that Reagan would be the change that they needed. New right versus old right, and I broke it down, okay? Old right is going to have strict limits on government intervention in the economy. The new right is going to favor more of those rights for the states, okay? They're going to have tough measures on crime, try to cut that down. Family values, huge thing. Family values, the idea that you're going to have a really solid foundation. Strong national defense, that's some of their beliefs. Constitutional amendment to actually permit prayer in the schools. You start that move from a little bit less liberal to a little bit more conservative, but not as conservative as the old right would be. So that's kind of the transition you're going to be making through this time period. Does anybody have any questions on that? Is that kind of what you think? What have you heard about Reagan in general? Has anybody heard anything about Reagan? About his presidency? Anybody heard anything like that? Reaganomics? Did anybody hear about Reaganomics? You'll talk a lot about that with Mr. Linder. But just the whole idea around Reagan and what he does for the economy. He's going to be someone really solid. It's going to push a lot of things through. Okay? That's kind of what's going to be happening. Now, for the rest of the class period, you're going to need to, there's a study guide on Google Classroom. Mr. Linder made it for you. Will you go ahead and fill those out? What terms were they? What number of terms were they, Mr. Linder?
Just do the second group. It just says Reagan terms. So the top group's a bunch that you've already gone through that we're just going to review real quickly. All right, then you have the second group that's Reagan terms. Then you have third set of issues on there that are major questions that you should be able to address after we're done.
Okay, so go ahead and do that next set of terms, not the ones that we've already gone over. Does everybody understand that? You can do it on Google Doc. You can write them out. It's a PDF form on Google Classroom that has all the stuff you're supposed to fill out. Either complete it on a Google Doc or do it in your handwritten notes, okay? Also, I'm taking any of those essays that you still have. Yeah.
When was the essay due?
It'll
If he
be,
was a good president.
can you have it done by Wednesday? For those people that are absent, can you have it done by Wednesday? Awesome, okay. Go ahead and pass those up if you wrote them, or if you have them with you. Yes, and if you haven't shared your essay with me already, please do it, so I can get it in the grade book, so I can get all that figured out.
Is that
okay?
on Google Classroom too? Like what we need to write about?
Just write whether he's a good president or a bad president.
Alright.
Okay, but you need to have solid foundation, okay? Thank you.
How many paragraphs?
3 whole paragraphs.
Because you weren't in here.
Are you gonna be here?
Essay.
I'll be here till Friday, but I won't be teaching.
Damn.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's a good one.
I'm not.
I know, you're like, you were here, like, I'm borrow this pencil.
Oh no. Trump's gonna do it.